Hello and welcome to the Watchman Report, where we bring perspective to the news from a biblical viewpoint. This episode we consider the significance of America joining forces with Israel in the war on Iran's nuclear ambitions. Hearing the news about the war between Israel and Iran is almost surreal. For years it has seemed the most obvious path to fulfill Bible prophecy, and now it is actually happening. Why is this so significant? Well, let's take a step back. The prophets of old prophesied that the Jews would be scattered from their homeland, suffer immensely among the nations, but then return to the land in which they once dwelt. It is an utterly unique event in history, but the Jews, after being scattered for thousands of years, returned to their ancient homeland in accordance with Bible prophecy, and the prophets provide us with a lot more detail. The Jews had to return specifically to Jerusalem, which they now have done, and to the mountains of Israel, which itself is significant because these mountains are often referred to today as the West Bank, and yet despite much world opposition, the Jews are dwelling there now as the prophecies require. However, there is one important detail that has never been fulfilled, and for the longest time seemed virtually impossible, and this is that which the prophet Ezekiel says in chapter 38 and verse 11, that the mountains of Israel would be known as the land of unwalled villages. Those that are at rest, that dwell safely, all of them dwelling without walls and having neither bars nor gates. It's so important that it is also there in verse 8. They shall dwell safely, all of them. And it is repeated again in verse 14. In that day, when my people of Israel dwelleth safely, shalt thou not know it? 3 times we are told that Israel would dwell safely. Dwell safely is the King James Version translation of the original Hebrew. If we look at the original Hebrew, we find the same words referring to the greatest time of peace in Israel's history, the reign of King Solomon. We find them referring to the kingdom of the future when Israel will have true peace as a result of the reign of the Lord Jesus. And we find them back in the days of the Judges, where the Danites were looking for a new territory and came across a people dwelling safely, quiet and secure, unsuspecting, and they became an easy picking for the invasion of the Danites. So too, Ezekiel informs us Israel is yet to be invaded when they dwell safely. Yet when the modern state of Israel was declared in 1948, they immediately found themselves at war in the Battle of Independence. Then less than 10 years later, there was the Suez Crisis of 1956. This was followed by the Six-Day War in 1967, the Yom Kippur War in 1973, the Lebanon War in 1982. And since 2005, when Israel unilaterally withdrew from the Gaza Strip, we became used to skirmishes between Israel and Gaza, and it almost became normal for Israelis to live under rocket fire. The modern state of Israel has never dwelt safely without walls upon the mountains of Israel. Despite efforts from different world leaders, Middle East peace has remained elusive, and the Arab-Jewish conflict appeared quite intractable. That was until 2020 and the signing of the Abraham Accords, which has resulted in normalized relations between Israel and 4 Arab states. This was a significant step towards peace, but before the walls can come down and peace believed to be by Israelis living under constant threat, there are more changes required to come into effect. The main threat, perhaps, is the Iranian threat. Iran has long been a state sponsor of terror, explicitly, vocally, looking for the end of Israel. You can think of Iran as an octopus. It has its head in the land of Iran, but it has its tentacles reaching out to attack Israel through its different proxies such as Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the Houthis in Yemen. And on top of the proxies, the head itself has been working towards nuclear weapons, which, if achieved, would be in the hands of a fanatical regime that desires the destruction of Israel. It has therefore been apparent for a number of years that the Iranian threat needs to be removed for Israel to believe that they have real peace and safety. This is why a war with Iran has long appeared an obvious step towards peace in Israel, and though we do not yet know the outcome of the war, the possibility of peace suddenly seems a lot closer. This has been greatly helped by America joining the war on Israel's side, as one of Iran's nuclear facilities, that of Fordow, is buried deep in a mountain, and America is the only country that has the capabilities of hitting this target with their enormously expensive, sophisticated B-2 bombers, And this is precisely what they have just done. They sent in the B-2 bombers with massive ordnance penetration bombs, and in addition to this, they fired cruise missiles from submarines. And in doing all of this, they hit 3 of the Iranian nuclear sites: Natanz, Isfahan, and the almost impenetrable site at Fordow. Our objective, American President Trump said in a national address, was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. He also posted on Truth Social, "We have completed our very successful attack on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordow. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this." And then in capitals he puts, "Now is the time for peace." It remains to be seen how the rest of the current war will unfold, but whilst we see the Middle East being reformed before our eyes, all of a sudden, what seemed virtually impossible just a few years ago is getting closer by the day. There are clearly events yet to happen to bring about the situation of Israel dwelling without walls and bars and gates on the mountains of Israel, but the time could be short. This is particularly relevant to followers of the Lord Jesus Christ, because in the context of the Lord Jesus returning to raise the dead and gather his followers together, 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 says, "But of the times and the seasons, brethren, ye have no need that I write unto you. For yourselves know perfectly that the day of the Lord so cometh as a thief in the night. For when they shall say, Peace and safety, then sudden destruction cometh upon them, as travail upon a woman with child, and they shall not escape. But ye, brethren, are not in darkness, that that day should overtake you as a thief." The implication appears to be that we will see the peace and safety of Ezekiel proclaimed, and yet it will be the last sign we see before the Lord comes. Whether we do see the peace before or after the coming of the Lord, the time we have to respond to the gospel call could be very short. Let us prepare ourselves for that day as we continue to watch for the coming of the Lord.
Don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Drop a comment below and let us know what you thought. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. Please share it and spread the word. Thanks for watching, and remember to come back soon.